Today I'm going to go through how to make a small box with the box joints. So I'm going to start out first of all with a 3-inch square. I'm going to just lock my aspect ratio here with a little padlock and just set 3 inches. Now I'm going to do another one here, and I want the box sides to be 1.5 inches high by 3 inches long. I'm also going to duplicate this side here because we're going to be able to use it over here as well. However, this material, I'm planning on making this out of 1/8 inch plywood. So when you start to assemble this box, you're going to have this much material here taken up when you flip this box half up on top of it. So we need to make 2 more sides to this box, but we need to do it where it's a total of 1/4 inch thinner. So we can sit there and click on one of these, hit duplicate, and then if you click on it one more time while it's got the drag handles on it, the arrows will switch to these little curved arrows. That means you can grab those curved arrows and rotate it. If you hold down your control key, it jumps in 15-degree rotation. So we're going to move this one up here, and then we're just going to go and we're going to change this to 2.75. And then we're going to duplicate it one more time. Sorry, we're going to select that, duplicate it one more time. And there's the 4 sides of the box. I'll get into a lid a little bit later on, but for now, we're just going to concentrate on the sides of the box. So now comes the fun part of actually making the box joints. Now there are some fancy tools out there that let you make the box joints. But if you don't have those or don't want to spend the money on those, I'm going to show you how you can do it manually. In this video, I am not taking into account the kerf of the laser, so it will be a somewhat loose fit. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw a very small rectangle. I want this one 1.25 or 1/8 of an inch thick, and this one I'm going to set to, let's say, 1/4 inch. At this point, I'm going to grab it by one of the nodes, not by the drag handle, the node, which is the little box that's white in the middle, and I'm going to drag it over here. At this point, I'm going to hit Control D, grab it by the node, and set it so that it's on the very bottom of the one that I just duplicated. At this point, I can hit Control D and just go down until I get to the bottom of this box. Ideally, I want an odd number of little boxes. So in this case, it says I have 12 of them selected. Well, really I only want 11 of them. So I'm going to get rid of one of them, highlight them all again, and I'm going to drag them down to here. I'm going to copy these, duplicate them, and just drag them off to the side for now. So once more, I'm going to go in, delete every other one. Oops, I wanted to go from this end. And delete them. At this point, I'm now going to draw a line around here, and I'm going to join them as a single object, or combine them. A little bit different than grouping. So once I've got these objects all grouped, I'm also going to replicate these. And I want them on the exact same position on the other side, so I'm going to drag them back over these. Then I'm going to click on them and start moving it, but I'm going to hold down my control key. That keeps me on an even plane from where the original position was. And I'm going to drag them over and set them on that side of the box. So now at this point, I can go over and click one of the combined objects, hit trim to the back. And you need to notice how they disappear and make a nice even box joint. Well, I'm going to do the same thing with this object, trim it from there, and I got nice box joints on either side. Well, I now need to add box joints to these halves here. So I'm going to make a copy of this with Control D again, and I want to delete the opposite ones that I did before. So I'm only going to select 5 this time, basically the ones to match up with the slots in here. Highlight them, combine, trim that from that, and then, as you can see, they'll nicely mesh up with each other. So I'm going to do that same, I could either do that same thing on the other side, or I can just delete this object here, hit Control D, and I can go over to the Transformations menu. With Transformations, you have scaling and mirroring. Well, what I want to do is I want to mirror it on horizontal. So I want this little box here clicked, and then just hit Apply. Now if you drag it over, you notice it's all matching up. It just mirrored it opposite. And drag it over so it looks nice there. So we have basically the bottom and the left sides ready to be joined up. Now we still need to do the box joints to the top, or the front and the back portion of the box as well. Now I just realized that I may have goofed up just a little bit, so I'm going to reset these sides back to 3 inches wide. And once again, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to rotate this, move these up to here, and actually I'm going to move them down into this one here first. Then I'm going to duplicate it again and again, so I keep a copy of these so I don't have to redraw them. And I'm going to grab this grouping here and attach it to this side of the box. So at this point, I want to get rid of this one because I don't want to cut a lot of the material away from this corner. So I'm going to alternate. And hit delete. Oops, I clicked the wrong box. Thank goodness for undo. Let's try that again. Apparently one element is going behind the other one, so that's the order of the elements again. So we'll just reselect and hit delete. So we're going to grab these elements, combine them, grab these elements, combine them, go back to our shaping menu, and I'm going to trim this one, and then I'm going to trim this one. So now all the different sides are going to join in. Now some of you who may have done this before are probably going to say, hey, but you're going to have a problem. I know. I'm going to get to that. For now, I'm just getting these bottom joints all set up. So once again, I'm going to show you the whole process, even though I could just duplicate. I'm going to grab that down here, go down to this one, change that back to 3 inches wide. Drag this one in here, duplicate it, drag this one up here, and keep a copy. And then we're going to once again do every other. And delete them. Combine these. Combine these. Select and trim. Select and trim. So now we have the bottom that's actually ready to be assembled. Now, the problem that we're going to have is if you try to cut these out as they are and flip this side up so that it's sitting on flat on the bottom, so basically 90 degrees, and then you try and do this one, they're going to knock into each other. So we have to do some box joints on the sides as well. And once again, we're going to want an odd number. So I'm going to grab these here. That's only 5. I think I'll do, yeah, 5 should be enough for this. So I'm going to rotate these here and put them into place right here. Now these are almost the exact same size, but they're a little off, so I'm just going to drag them and join them up for the sake of this video. You can do them however you want. And then let's make a copy. And put it over there as well. We're going to once again get rid of every other on both sides. Combine them. Combine them. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, make a copy for myself. So once again, I'm going to get rid of every other. Delete them. Combine. Combine. And then we're going to trim them. And then all we have to do is do the same thing using, we'll get rid of those, using this one over here. Except we got to rotate it. And zoom in, match it up. And then we will get rid of the two inner ones. Duplicate. Drag down. We're going to combine these down here. And these right here. And once again, we're going to go trim. And trim. So now for the sake of expediency, I'm just going to actually delete these two. And I'm just going to go in here, select these two. And I'm going to go into the transformations again. And over here you can see copies. Well, I'm going to turn mirror horizontal and vertical on. And I now have a full copy of it. So basically I just copied these two and then automatically flipped them horizontal and vertical at the same time. So now we have the start to a little box. Now if all you wanted was a simple four-sided box with a bottom, you should be ready to go. However, for my own personal satisfaction, I want to dress this thing up a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a lid for this box as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a couple little bits onto the two side pieces here. And yes, I will probably cheat by just doing one of them and then cloning it, or duplicating it and mirroring it and putting it over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little piece on here. Oops. Might help to select the right tool. I'm selecting the freehand tool. And I'm going to go out here, make this 0.5 inches, so a ½ inch. And I want that positioned exactly on the edge, so I'm going to grab it by the node and connect it to the edge there. At this point, I could actually duplicate this if I wanted to. Duplicate, click, get your little turning arrows and rotate it. Drop it there. And then I'll do a freehand at just a little bit of an angle there. Connect it there. And click one more time because we want to make this an object unto itself. Now at this point, now I can grab it, and I didn't grab one of the lines, so I got to connect that up there, and we're going to highlight it and combine it as one object. So we're going to grab, well, there's one other thing that I'm noticing here. If you zoom way in, I don't have that line connected very well. So we're going to break that apart again and reconnect it. That should be good now. So now we can highlight this and combine it. One other thing I'm noticing, and I'll zoom in so you can kind of see it. We got to zoom way in. You see that there's not a tight corner there? That's because those pieces aren't actually joined. So if we zoom in a little bit more, you can see a separate arrow here and a separate arrow here. Well, I want those to be joined, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit join those two. See how it connects these two up? I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. And if I look at all my other corners, they look connected. So we now have a separate object. So I'll zoom back out here, drag this one over here, and then we're going to use the shaping tool again, except this time we're going to use weld. And we're going to weld this one to that one. So there you go. So once again, I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to get rid of this one completely because they're mirrors of each other. Highlight that, click that one. Go to transformations. I'm going to turn vertical mirror off. I still have one copy selected, so I just hit apply, and there's my duplicate copy. But there's one other thing that I didn't do. So I'm going to undo 2 times. I need to make a hole here for the lid so that the lid can flip up. So we're just going to grab the circle tool. We're going to make a 0.25 inch circle. And we're just going to drag it right about there. I'm not being super precise, but I could be if I wanted to be. One simple way to measure is to make a square. And let's just say we want it 0.25, 0.25. So now you can grab one of the nodes, connect it up here. Then you can go back to the circle, grab the very center portion of it, and drop it on the edge of that square. At this point, you delete the square. Now you got to perfectly position the center of the circle is a 1/4 inch from this side and a 1/4 inch from that side. So now, we'll zoom back out, highlight this, copy and mirror, and drag it over here. So now the only thing left to do is to work on our lid. Lots of different ways to do it. I'm going to take the simplest approach. Now, keeping in mind that when you attach these edges, you're only going to have 2 3/4 inches of space between the two upright sides. Same goes for top to bottom. So we're going to start out with our lid, and we're just going to make it 2.75 inches square. Now, if you remember, our holes were 1/4 inch in from the sides. So I'm going to use the little square trick again, make a 1/4 inch square. It's a good measuring device. And just drag it into the corner here. So I know that this point right here is going to be the axis for the lid to fit into those holes. I want to make it a little bit beefy, so I'm going to make something that's approximately 0.2 high. I want a little smaller than the hole, and 0.125 long, so that it doesn't stick out the edges. And if you see here, you can actually grab a midpoint on a line, and we just drag it right up here so that it connects up with where that square is. I'm going to do this as well here. Just make a copy, drag it over here. I'm being lazy. I should have used the mirror function, but I didn't. And then you can get rid of these squares in the corner. And at this point, we are going to weld these little tabs onto the lid. So you're going to go back to your shaping tool, and we're going to weld this to this, and then we're going to weld the center one again to the little tab. And there is what hopefully will be a nice looking little box. We might have to make a couple little changes. The one that I can think of offhand we might need to do is to move this line here down a little bit, just so that we have a little bit of room for the lid to swing. I'm just going to do that now just for the sake of doing it. I'm going to draw another line from midpoint to midpoint here. And I'm going to actually go in, I'm going to combine all these lines together. Then I'm going to go into the node editing tool, and I'm just going to get rid of a couple of these lines. Oh, actually, I'm going to have to break this apart. And then you can get rid of that one line. And then drag these down here, connect them up. They already auto join, so we're good there. And we're good to test this. A couple of things that I'll wind up doing is I'm going to change the color of these here, these circles, to red, so that when I send it to the laser, it cuts those out first, so it doesn't shift when it cuts the rest of the pieces out. One little thing that I'm going to do, just for fun, I'm going to add some text to this, just so I add a little bit of interest to it. So I am going to find an interesting font here. That's always a good one. Type your lettering in there. We'll center it a little bit. Probably scale it up a little bit. And just going to make it fit in the boundaries a little. And we're going to take that, put it here. Now you notice if I put it there, actually the one thing I'm going to do is convert that to curves. We actually have to flip this one around. I'll duplicate that one, flip that back around. And nudge it around until we're happy with how it's positioned. And we're going to set the lettering to a different color. Let's choose blue. And we should be good to go and etch and engrave this. Well, not bad for one minor little mistake. I should have made this 2 7/8 long instead of 2 3/4 inch long, because now the lid goes kind of like this. So I'm actually going to adjust that and recut. Now we'll put the new lid into place, hopefully without too much drama. And there you have a lidded box. Now, a few things that you've undoubtedly noticed. Well, obviously one of them was that I used some scrap wood that I'd used for something else. But specifically right here, I could actually drop that hole about almost a good 1/8 of an inch or more, and then it would actually look like it was sitting flat on top of this box. But all in all, you can see that the lid opens up just fine. And now all you really need to do is glue it. I even have a pretty good fit on this box. It's not too tight. So a couple of dabs of glue and a couple of rubber bands to hold it all together, and you have a nice little box.